use of silence in the movie is vital to impact the viewer. How do you feel about it as a narrative tool?
I mean, I feel like silence is horror's best friend. A lot of horror films I see, I feel that they're too loud, too much music, too much telling the audience how to feel. For me, when there's no sound, the audience fills in those gaps with their own imagination, and every little sound that you can hear suddenly becomes a thunderbolt to the audience. So I just like playing with it. I like the audience to be off guard. I never want them to feel safe.
What in this story attracted you so much as to get involved in the Invisible Man movie project?
I mean, I'm always looking for an opportunity to thrill audiences. You know, ideas are hard to come by. To me, it's the hardest part of filmmaking is the idea. I mean, all the editing, shooting, you know, all that work, which is admittedly very tough, it all pales in comparison to coming up with an idea that you love. You know, some people get ideas from the newspaper, other people will adapt someone else's book. But for me, so far, it's always been about, mostly been about an original idea. In this case, it wasn't an original idea, it was this classic character, but I needed to feel like I had an original take on it. I needed a take on this character that I felt I hadn't seen before. And that's what got it all started.
Oh, you like that? Yeah. Okay, good.
Having so much experience in horror movies, what elements were fundamental for you to create the atmosphere of this movie?
Well, you know, each movie has its own language. At least I try to develop that. For each film, you want to step back from it and say, okay, what is the language of this film? How is this film different to other movies? Even if it's in a small way, you want something that sets it apart. Otherwise, why bother? And with this one, I was really interested in letting the camera be a character unto itself. I felt that the character should be exploring empty hallways and empty rooms in this film, and almost being indifferent to the actors, you know, not needing them to be in the frame. I thought that was an interesting idea, and anytime you hit upon something that you feel like is a bit weird or maybe you haven't seen it before, to me that's evidence that you should run in that direction. Like, always move towards the thing that sounds strange at first.
Sound, music, and photography are resources used impressively in this movie. What was the most complex scene to shoot, and which is your favorite?
Well, I would say the most complex scene to shoot is the motion control stuff. There's a kitchen fight scene with Elizabeth Moss, and you're combining so many elements. First of all, we're using a robot for a camera, and the robot only knows how to do one thing. You know, a human cameraman can adjust the frame, move around, but the robot just goes where it's pre-programmed to go. So it's almost like dance choreography in that way. Like, there's a voice on set that drowns out all other sound, counting off the seconds, and 1 and 2. And so the actors know that on 3 they have to be here, and on 4 they have to be here. So in that way, it's a lot like a dance scene, you know? So that would probably be the most complex. My favorite scene in the film, I think, is a particular scene with Elizabeth Moss where she gets some bad news at the psychiatric hospital, and most of it is just one shot looking at the back of Elizabeth's head, but I just love it. I think her performance is so great, and I think all the forces combined that day to make like something powerful.
Where are you? Where are you? Show yourself! Come on! Do it! There you are.